afternoon. Thank you, all of you, alumni, students, and friends who are joining us today for another episode of Cats in the Corner Office with UA alumnus Skyler Badenoch. This event is brought to you by the University of Arizona Alumni Association's Career and Professional Development Lab. The Career Lab helps alumni find jobs, advance their careers, and build their professional networks. For more information, please visit the website at alumnicareerlab.com. So today's conversation will be recorded and is available on demand on the website. And as for Skyler, as we talk with Skyler, we hope you'll ask us lots of questions. If you're on Twitter, you can send your questions to us at HireACat. If you're interested in just emailing your question, you can do that, alumnicareerlab@email.arizona.edu, or you can simply type your question into the YouTube chat box during the interview. And please send us lots of questions. It always makes for an engaging, interesting interview. So now, let's get started. So welcome to Cats in the Corner Office, our award-winning online speaker series featuring highly accomplished UA alumni. I'm Melinda Burke, and it's my honor today to introduce our guest, Skyler Badenoch. Skyler is the Chief Executive Officer of Hope for Haiti, an organization that works to improve the quality of life for Haitian people, particularly children. Hope for Haiti serves thousands of families through direct investments in education, healthcare, water, infrastructure, and the economy. Skyler joined Hope for Haiti earlier this year, and prior to that, he worked for Build On, where he spent 10 years managing participatory school construction programs in Haiti, Nicaragua, and Malawi. During that time, he helped to raise more than $10 million to support global education and the construction of more than 500 schools in rural villages in the developing world. Skyler was a Peace Corps volunteer in Côte d'Ivoire, I think I got that right, and he received an undergraduate degree in economics from the University of Arizona and a master's degree in international development studies from the George Washington University. So Skyler, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you for having me.
So it's always a pleasure to talk to a wildcat that's doing so well in his field. So can you start by telling us a little bit about what you do as CEO for Hope for Haiti?
Yeah, absolutely. And first, I just want to say again, thank you so much to the University of Arizona and the University of Arizona Alumni Association for having me. It really is an honor to be part of this morning,
well,
and very exciting for me. So thanks. So as the CEO of Hope for Haiti, I wear many hats, and as many CEOs do, I'm sure. And really, what I'm focused on as the head of our organization is to really drive the culture, to be not only passionate about our mission, but to really make an impact in southern Haiti, which is where our organization specifically focuses in. And so my day-to-day, it varies. I work with our board of directors. I speak with them continuously on the phone every day. I work with our amazing team. We have a team of more than 60 staff, both located in the United States and in Haiti, speaking with them every day over text, over email, on the phone, making sure that we're implementing our strategic plan. I do a lot of financial oversight, making sure that we're staying within our budget and our spending, and I do fundraising like any CEO. Fundraising is a big part of the work that I do. Meeting with existing donors, talking to our board members about who we can reach out to, and get involved in our mission. So that's a lot of what my day-to-day is focused on.
Well, that's a comprehensive responsibility. So you mentioned day-to-day. Can you describe what a typical day is like?
Yeah, well, I work remotely, and so I also travel a lot. And so my day-to-day really does vary. Last week, I spent the last 5 days in Haiti with one of our biggest supporters, showing him the work we were doing, telling him about the impact, talking about our 3-year vision for the work that we're doing in Haiti. Then I'm back in Arizona. I just had a call this morning with our entire team going over our strategic plan. Our fiscal year 2018 starts July 1st, and so we're really talking about how we set our intentions to make this the best year ever as an organization. On the road over, I was talking to a few of our board members about an upcoming board meeting that we're having. Had a nice call with a potential donor who's interested in going down to Haiti in the fall, and talk to him a little bit about what that might look like. And so it really does vary. There's not one set schedule for my day-to-day. It jumps around a lot.
And so what are do you have some strategic initiatives for Hope for Haiti that are part of your plan? What are the primary goals?
We do. And as you mentioned, the mission of Hope for Haiti is to improve the social and economic conditions of people living in southern Haiti, specifically children. And so our strategic plan is really focused on investing about $20 million per year through programs in education, in healthcare, in infrastructure, in clean water, and economic development. And so
that's building schools?
it's building schools, it's supporting teacher salaries, it's helping find teacher training for 24 rural communities that we support in southern Haiti. It's helping improve access to clean water for people who are living in remote and isolated villages. It's also building up infrastructure like schools or sanitation facilities so that girls and boys have a place to use the bathroom when they're at school. We also work to support the economic development of communities through a portfolio that we manage. Over the last 5 years, we've been investing almost $2.5 million in small businesses and social businesses in southern Haiti. A lot of people say, when they first hear about Hope for Haiti, they think of us as a charity, but that's not really the case. We're much more than a charity. We're a development organization, and we also do a lot of investment in businesses to create job creation and invest in entrepreneurs in Haiti who we believe in.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah. That's wonderful. You probably didn't envision this for yourself when you left the University of Arizona. So can you talk a little bit about your career path and how you ended up in this role?
Yeah, and I know we're going to talk about mentors and how important mentors are to development, but really it was my mentor who, during a lunch conversation one day many years ago, I think it was in 1996, told me about the Peace Corps. And when I heard about the Peace Corps, it took me about 5 seconds to figure out that that's what I was going to do after I graduated from college. And so after I finished my time at the University of Arizona, I went to serve in Cote d'Ivoire in West Africa. As I told you, I did my Peace Corps interview in this building that we're having. So it's nice. It's a nice reflection point.
So you sort of got your start right here in this building.
I did, yeah. I feel like I really did, and that was the jumping off point for me was the Peace Corps, and I think about it and I look back. It was definitely something I was going into for the adventure more than to give back to the betterment of the world. But serving 2 years in a rural village in West Africa changed that. And what I saw there and what I experienced really galvanized my belief that as a society, as a global community, we can help improve the lives of people who don't have the kind of opportunity that we have and that we've been afforded. And so I spent 2 years in West Africa. At the end of my service, I backpacked all around, like 8 different countries, by train, by bike, by motorcycle, by camel. Any way you can imagine getting around, I think we did it in West Africa, and came home and moved back to Arizona and figured out that really being in Arizona at that point in my life wasn't for me. So I moved to DC and really thought deeply about where I wanted to go in my career. And it became very, very clear to me that was in international development. So I applied to the George Washington University. Was accepted into their International Development Studies program. I spent 2 years in that program and then was hired at the end of my 2 years by Build On, by my college roommate at the time. And I spent 10 years at Build On. One of the most rewarding professional experiences I think I'll ever have in my career. 10 years of friendships, of impact, of helping support and lift up and build up communities through education, really has been inspiring to me. And through those 10 years, I met Hope for Haiti. I met Hope for Haiti very early on in my time at Build On. I think it was in 2007. We created partnerships together. We fundraised together, and we created a lot of impact together, including during the time of the 2010 earthquake, when I was down in Haiti with Build On, living at Hope for Haiti's guest house. And we experienced...
So you were there during the earthquake?
I was there during the earthquake, flew down the day before, was staying at the Hope for Haiti guest house as a guest, working for Build On, and the next day we ended up in the epicenter in a tent city of 10,000 people, not really knowing what we could do, but knowing that we had to do something. Mm-hmm. And so we spent about 6 weeks working at a clinic that we opened up and supporting doctors and getting them medical supplies and supporting patients who needed a little bit or a lot of help.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So 10 years at Build On, I was enjoying my time, and last year this really wonderful opportunity opened up to join the team at Hope for Haiti. And Actually last January, I had been in discussions with Hope for Haiti and just wasn't the right fit. And then the opportunity came back last November, and I said yes. And the timing was perfect. And I cannot say enough about the team, about the organization, about the board, about the leadership. And I just feel like I stepped into the perfect role for me at that time.
Wow, you're fortunate.
I am.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I feel like I just feel so lucky and blessed to have found this organization.
That's wonderful. So you mentioned your roommates. So talk a little bit about the importance. I guess the message or the lesson there is that you never burn a bridge.
Nope.
And those relationships from the university have still been very important throughout your career.
Absolutely. I mean, this guy's like a brother to me. His name's Brett McNaught. He runs a nonprofit now in Miami-Dade County called Educate Tomorrow. And Brett and I were college roommates at the Sigma Chi fraternity down here on First Street. And Brett and I were always talking about, what are we going to do after college? What are we going to do after college? And I knew I was going into the Peace Corps. And I convinced Brett that he should go into the Peace Corps too. And we both served in West Africa, and we used to write letters to each other, like pen pals. And my letter would arrive two months after I wrote it, and he would write one back, and I'd get it 4 months later. And we really galvanized our friendship during those times. And we traveled around together, we backpacked together, and we were supposed to do Christmas together. And a coup d'etat broke out in the Ivory Coast. I had to leave my position and my post in the Peace Corps, and they dissolved our program. And there was no way for me to tell Brett that we weren't going to spend Christmas together. So I decided to just go see him. And literally 80 hours on I logged every hour, 80 hours on transport, buses, camels, motorcycles, hitchhiking, you name it. And I finally figured out a way to get to Brett's village, which is in a remote area of Niger. I mean, just in the bushes. And he didn't know I was coming. And I didn't know at that point how to speak the local language. So I was just walking around Brett's town with a picture of him, asking if anybody knew him. And some guy rode up on a bike, and he said, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm looking for this guy." And he said, "Abdul Rashid?" And I said, if that's what he's going by these days. And so I ended up finding a way into his village. I bought 2 chickens and 2 bags of rice, and got a private car, drove into his community, and I found him and I surprised him. It was just about to be nighttime, and he was sitting in his courtyard, and I'll never forget this. And he looked up, and I got a chicken in both hands, and I'm like, "Hey, dude." And I think he couldn't speak for like the next 2 hours, but it was such a great memory. We really bonded over our Peace Corps experience, our U of A experience, and then what came after was he moved to New Orleans for Habitat for Humanity. I moved to DC for grad school. He got hired by Bill Don and was quickly promoted. And right when I was finishing grad school, he needed to hire somebody to replace him because he'd just been promoted.
Wow.
And he called me up and he said to me, I'll never forget this. He said, "Hey, do you want to come work with me?" And I said, "Sure. What's the gig?" And he said, "Well, I won't steer you wrong. You'll travel all around the world. You'll do great things. You'll help people. You'll improve education." And he wasn't wrong. And that relationship with Brett. I mean, we were actually just down in Haiti 3 weeks ago together, and he just did it because he wanted to hang out. We wanted to continue that experience of really trying to create positive change together. So that relationship has been incredible for me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a great story.
Yeah.
So did you have these aspirations when you came to the University of Arizona? Why did you choose this institution?
For me, it was an easy choice. I was born and raised in Scottsdale, and was looking for a place to go to college in state, but I was also looking for an institution in a university that had a solid academic reputation, and I really saw that in the University of Arizona. And so that, combined with a few people who I knew who were coming down, inspired me to come to the university. And I'm just so glad that I did, because not just the things that I learned and the foundation that it helped create, but as you know, the friendships that you make that last a lifetime.
Yeah, clearly.
We were saying before we started this interview that experience breeds passion, and I think this speaks for a lot of us at the University of Arizona. is that it's that experience of those 4 years that really make us passionate about this university.
Oh, and it sounds like that period really did change your life. I mean, it just set you on a course that has generated this amazing career for you.
You know, it really has. And sometimes it's overwhelming when you go try to think back on how did I get to this point? How did I get to be so fulfilled in my career? And the amazing part about it is so many things have to happen. So many people have to help you along the way, open doors for you along the way, for you to get to that point. And that's how I feel. And I think that feeling is one of, it's humbling.
Yeah. So I think you're right. People had to open doors for you, but you also had to be there to say yes. You
Sure,
had
absolutely.
to be there to make them want to open doors for you. And what was it you were doing? How did you get those doors to open for you?
Well, you know, I think about the door opening thing a lot because I love helping open doors for other people as well. That's become a passion of mine. And there's this interview question that you've heard 100 times: is where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I used to dread that interview question because my answer was I have no idea. And I think a lot of people don't know, unless you're dead set on being a doctor or a lawyer. You know specifically what you want to go in. But I think a lot of people fall into that category of I don't really know. And so what I started to think about is what skills can I develop that will help me walk through any door that opens? And I still think about that to this day. And I thought about it when I was at Build On, when I was thinking about program management, or I ended up becoming a fundraiser or leading a team. Those are all skills that are very useful in professional development as you get new opportunities. And so I really do think about that. And so in my career, I've been trying to develop the skills: fundraising skills, leadership skills, communication skills, creating culture within teams. Those are all really
They're
important to me.
transferable.
They are. They're all
So
transferable.
can students begin to develop those skills while they're still in college?
Always. They can do it beforehand. And I think those the ways you do that, number one is experience. If you can get internships, I felt like I feel like I was an intern for 10 years before I really got my first job. And what that did was it exposed me to new ideas, new people, new work ethics. And that's certainly one thing that I would recommend students to look into is find an internship. Go through that experience. It doesn't have to be paid because the value of that experience will appreciate over the course of your career. The other thing is absolutely look at things, look at opportunities as ways to learn. Entry-level jobs. Sometimes you hear that word entry-level job, and that's sort of frowned upon or has a negative connotation. I don't think so. Entry-level job means this is a great opportunity to learn, to gain new skill sets, and to also prove your value and your worth, so you can improve on your career path.
That's great. So were there any, when you were here at the U of A, did you have any memorable classes or professors, specific clubs or organizations? It sounds like Sigma Chi was pretty important.
You know,
but-
Sigma Chi definitely.
Yeah.
It was such an important part of my time here. I was the president of the fraternity back in the day, and the friendships that I made at the university through Sigma Chi are many of them are still intact today. And you can't put a value on that. I mean, think about Brett. That's an incredible value. You can't put a value on that. But it's more than just one person. It's a collective group of people who support each other socially, who support each other professionally. There's just so much worth to that kind of camaraderie that exists within the fraternal experience.
And what was your academic major?
I was an econ major.
And so
Yeah.
do you think that was a good major for, I mean, I think I know the answer, but for the kind of work that you chose to go into?
Yeah, and it gave me a great foundation. But I changed my major like 4 times. From the time I was a freshman to the time I was a junior, I was hopping around a lot. And a lot of the reason that I did that was because I kept having these experiences, these internships. And I'd go and intern in New York for a law firm, and then I wanted to become a lawyer. Or I'd go intern on Wall Street, and I was going to be a finance guy. I worked on a movie set, and I thought for sure I was going to be a director. And so every time I kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and really trying to find out what it was that I liked. And every time I changed my major, and I settled on econ. It wasn't really a settle, but it was because I saw great value in having that foundation, the understanding of economics and how it works, not just at a micro level, but a macro level, as something that would be beneficial to my career path and to my work experience. And it was. And so I had a couple of great econ teachers. I think his name was Dr. Drebecki. Don't even know if he's still around, but he really challenged us. Probably one of the hardest econ classes I've ever taken. And you know, when something challenges you like that, and then you're able to overcome those challenges and find some success, those types of classes were really memorable to me. You know, I think I took a class from Dr. Donna Swaim. I think we talked about that, right? She's still involved with the university. But what a wonderful spiritual, you know, human being who taught a lot about compassion and giving back to not just the university, but to the world. And so she's somebody who definitely inspired me. And then there was another class that I took, and it's interesting how these classes still this one class played a role in I think some of my success, and it was a poetry class with a guy by the name of Dr. Williams. Yeah, I can't remember his first name, but Dr. Williams, and it was this poetry class. And besides studying poetry, one of the objectives was to get up and recite poetry. And not being very skilled at public speaking, that was a little bit of a challenge at the time. But I committed to it and memorized a few poems and ended up really loving that experience of getting up in front of people and performing. And so I look back to that class as something that's made me feel a lot more comfortable when standing up and presenting in front of large groups of people.
That's great. So can you talk a bit about your time in the Peace Corps?
Sure.
What was that service like?
Yeah, so I was in a rural village in the northern part of Côte d'Ivoire, and I was a water sanitation volunteer. And this community, the name of the community was Bondo. No running water, no electricity. That didn't matter. A beautiful culture of people. And I showed up the first day after 3 months of Peace Corps training, speaking French and really trying to learn the culture of the Ivory Coast. And it turned out that not many people spoke French. They spoke a local dialect. And so I had to then spend the next 3 to 6 months learning that local dialect and learning those local customs. And that time that I spent, I think, was one of those things that opened up doors to me within that community. The fact that, you know, here I was as somebody who came from a far distance, certainly an outsider, who made the effort to learn the culture, learn the language, interact with the younger people of the community, interact with the elders, understand the cultural nuances. It just really helped me assimilate into that community. And so, you know, I learned about what it's like to be an outsider. I learned about what it's like to speak a foreign language for the first time, what that feels like. Incredibly difficult and challenging. You also learn a lot about yourself as a Peace Corps volunteer, because a lot of times you're by yourself. And so that can be challenging. It can be challenging, and it tests you in your own resolve, and it tests you in your own commitment to complete your service and do it the best you can. So I think I'd mentioned earlier that I went really just for the adventure, but it became really clear that the Peace Corps is more than adventure. They say it's the toughest job you'll ever love, and it's really true. It was the foundation for what is now my career, and I think it became the foundation because of the people who I met, the people who I made friends with, the people I saw struggling in the face of really challenging poverty, but also overcoming that with incredible ingenuity and with drive and a sense of purpose and family values and things that we forget about when we hear that word poverty. There's so much dignity in the developing world. And that was one of the things that really impressed me. There's this great quote: intelligence and opportunity, or intelligence and ability are equally distributed throughout the world, but opportunity is not. And that was really driven home for me every single day in the community, in this village of Bondo in the northern part of Côte d'Ivoire, where you see these kids, super intelligent, creative, but they just don't have the same kind of opportunity that we had. And so that was really that experience is what drove me to enter the international development field.
Great. So, and how have you seen the international development field change over the course of your career? Have you seen big changes?
I have. And the biggest noticeable change is technology across the board. I mean, when I was a Peace Corps volunteer, nobody had a cell phone. Nobody had a phone with a camera. Imagine if you had to do a mass meeting out in a community, out in a rural community, 100 kilometers away or 100 miles away, and you had set up everything, you set the meeting with the chiefs and the village elders, and then something happened. Or maybe something happened on their end and there was a death in the community and they had to cancel the meeting. There was no way to really communicate that back then. And so this introduction of technology into developing country settings and international development has changed the game completely. And now communication is much easier. You don't have to waste time going back and forth and setting up meetings. You can even access very important data. If you're looking at Hope for Haiti, we support 24 rural communities that provide better access to education for 7,000 children. If we want to have access to that data real time, we call the teacher. Couldn't do that before. Of course, we go out there and we have team members on the ground, but that just really reduced the barrier for communication and for collaboration. Today it's interesting. I was in Nepal about a year ago, and before, when I used to go to Nepal in 2007, not a lot of people had the new cell phones or the smartphones, and you go in and there's beautiful scenery, so you take a few pictures, and now if you go to Nepal, it's the other way around. Everybody's taking pictures of you because the smartphones are everywhere, and it really has changed. And I mean, another interesting example is when I was in the Peace Corps in this community in Bondo, had all these kids that would hang out, and we'd garden together, and there are these really fun village kids. And about 3 years ago, and this is remote villages. About 3 years ago, they started Facebook friending me, and that really is a sign of the times. When you get Facebook friend by a kid who's 7, 8 years old, who used to hang around your house, like that's a fundamental change in the way you communicate. And so the world is opening up for people.
It makes the world a lot smaller, doesn't it?
It shrinks it.
Yeah. Fascinating. So reducing poverty and building sustainable communities is complicated.
It is.
What does it take to really make an impact?
Well, first of all, you're right. It's complicated and it's not easy, especially in the context of Haiti. In all of my experience in working in the Ivory Coast and in West Africa and East Africa and Nepal, Central America, Haiti is, I think, the most challenging place to work for a number of different reasons. It's not just one reason, but just the context of the country. It makes it a very challenging place to work. So in able to do that, I think you have to have experience. Number two, you have to have incredibly talented people on the ground. And I would say not the expatriate community, but local community. At Hope for Haiti, we employ 59 Haitian people. The majority of our staff are Haitian. They obviously speak Haitian Creole, and they know the context of their own country. And what I think is beautiful is they're working to improve the social and economic development of their own communities. So I think that's really important. And then the second piece of that is, if you're going to be working with communities, specifically rural communities, to help improve their social and economic conditions, you can't do it alone. There's this beautiful quote that I learned in West Africa, which is, "What you do for us without us is not really for us," and it's so true. And so I know there are some development organizations that come in and they say, "We're going to do this because you need this," and that's the wrong way. You first got to have that conversation with the community and understand the local leadership and make sure that every single phase of the process has a participatory component. That local community has voice, local community has leadership. Otherwise, I think you're destined for failure. And so that's a really important distinction. And it's a hard part of international development, in my opinion.
Doesn't sound like it's quick.
It's not.
So relationships are critical.
Relationships are critical, and also, for some things like education, and education is very much a long-term sustainable development goal. You might provide extra years of education for young children, those benefits, there might be some immediate benefits, of course, but the long-term benefits are really what we're looking for. And those things don't happen until 20 years later. So what we're doing today, and I think about this at Hope for Haiti, we just graduated in one of our communities that we support, our first high school graduating class this year. It's gonna happen later this month. And I think about what that means to those kids because I knew them 10 years ago. This cohort of students, I met them 10 years ago in this rural village. And to think that now, and by the way, they only had access to 5th grade 10 years ago. So their options 10 years ago were either drop out or walk an incredibly long distance to access 6th grade. Today, their school goes up to high school. And there's this cohort that's graduating today, and I think about that a lot. I think about this, that this cohort, the long-term impact is still unknown. What are they going to do when they graduate? But statistics tell us that they'll, from a social and economic perspective, they'll be better off. We know that they'll have less children in their families. We'll know that they'll have greater agricultural output. We know that economically, like I said, they'll be better, less susceptible to things like HIV and malaria and tuberculosis on average. And so when I think of these students, I really do think of these kids as the future of Haiti. And it's that long-term approach that we've taken as an organization that I think is really going to help yield some great results.
Well, I have a question from Angelina, who just graduated from the U of A this spring. And she says, when I was in grade school, we often did fundraisers or collected socks for Haiti. How impactful are programs like these?
So, first of all, Angelina, congratulations on your graduation. And I would say you got to be careful with these types of programs. At Hope for Haiti, we just experienced one of the largest natural disasters in the I think it is the largest natural disaster in the southern part of the country. Hurricane Matthew destroyed homes, decimated communities, destroyed crops, really put that part of the country in a very difficult situation. And as an organization, Hope for Haiti has received this year more than $20 million in donations of medical supplies, medical equipment, what we call in-kind donations. And as an organization, we've been really intentional about accepting things that we think are value added and that we can support government systems, that we can support existing infrastructure. And they're in some of those gifts like socks and things like that, well-intentioned. But really what we try to do is provide very specific, high-value goods that can support the local systems. One great example, I was just down in Haiti last week with one of our donors who supported the import of very high-valued medical supplies and medical equipment from the Stanford Hospital in Stamford, Connecticut. They had done a renovation. They were getting rid of a lot of their equipment and supplies. They were generous enough to donate it to Hope for Haiti, and our donor helped us transport those medical supplies and medical equipment down to Haiti. Paid for all the costs of transportation and everything, and those things went into support the systems directly into, for example, the general hospital down in the southern part of the country where they just built a new wing. So all these really, really high quality bedside tables, respirators, anesthesiology machines are now in the possession of the local general hospital, government-run general hospital, to improve the services that they give the population. And so when we talk about what kind of donations are useful, I'd much rather have us finding a way to support with high-value things like medical equipment, medication, and other things that really spur people's economic development and social development.
Okay. So we have another question from Barbara. Now, Barbara's the class of 2013.
Okay.
How do you delegate and build a strong leadership team? And as the CEO, how do you decide what duties are not your responsibility?
Yeah, good question. And congratulations, too, on graduating. So coming into this role, and so I'm about 6 months into my role as the CEO of Hope for Haiti, one of the things that I felt very strongly about was to not come in and try to change things or make it my way or the highway. I really wanted I really wanted my experience, not just in these first 6 months, but during my entire time at Hope for Haiti, to be collaborative and to make sure that our team has a voice. And so I was lucky enough to come in at a time where we needed to do a 2 to 3 year strategic plan. And so that was an easy one, because then I just got our entire team together and made sure that people were bought in and had a voice and got to be part of that strategic planning process. We had a phone call today with our entire team, and I think that was the biggest takeaway, that every single person on our team had a chance to have an impact on our plan. And what that does is that creates ownership and accountability. That we are all in this together. We are all responsible and accountable to each other for this plan. And so that to me is the first thing that I would say, is make sure that when you're leading teams, that you're collaborative and that you give people a voice. And especially when you have strong leaders, which we do, that they are able to have the autonomy to do their jobs and do them well. And as far as delegation, I don't mind delegating at all. I think it's a wonderful thing. And as I was coming up at Build On, things were delegated to me, and I felt empowered by that. And so, having known what that feeling feels like, I think it serves our organization to help us develop our new leaders and empower them to make an impact with the organization. And I think that we're well served by that.
So you mentioned, I think you have 59 employees that are actually in Haitian.
We do.
Haiti, that are Haitian.
We do.
So how does that, managing such a diverse workforce, that must really influence the culture? Or does it require adjustments in terms of how you talk to people, how you manage people?
Yeah, I think it does. But I think having worked in Haiti for almost 15 years now, it helps to know the culture. It helps to speak the language, helps to know the geographic areas and know the community. And I had a pretty good working knowledge of that coming into the job. But certainly you want to make sure that you are respecting cultural norms and cultural nuances. That's a really important part of the work when you're working in that kind of a multicultural context. And the other thing is, for me, it's as a new leader of the organization, really important for me to go down and create personal relationships. And so I've spent a lot of my 6 months at Hope for Haiti on the road with our team down in Haiti. We have an office in Naples. We have an office up in Stamford, Connecticut, and just creating those personal connections. And that's been value to me, because I love our team. They're a great team. They work hard. They're passionate about their work. And I think we are all very connected to this common bond and this audacious belief that we have, that in the face of all the challenges that you are in Haiti, we can help create positive impact.
That's great. So what is the biggest challenge you've ever faced in your career?
Oh, well, they're numerous. I think if I were to look back at some of the challenges, just the thing that comes back to me is really that time during the Haiti earthquake. It was a physical challenge. It was a mental challenge. It was an emotional challenge to be in the exact location where 300,000 people had just died, where 250,000 people were seriously injured, and 1 million people were homeless. I hope that I'll never have to experience that again. It was, in looking back, it was certainly one of the largest challenges. But like anything, sometimes your toughest challenges can be your fondest memories. And it's kind of a weird thing to think that an earthquake was a fond memory, but when I look back on it, I was really inspired by the way I was with a team of people, responded. I was really inspired by how the Haitian people responded. They were the first responders, digging their family members out of rubble. We ended up supporting a clinic with about 20 Haitian doctors and nurses who worked as volunteers around the clock for 6 weeks, didn't ask for anything, just so that they can help treat their fellow countrymen. And I think, to me, that was it was an inspiring thing, but definitely one of the biggest challenges. And I think about it every day. I think about it every single day.
Wow. What about mentors? Have you had some good mentoring, and what kind of lessons have you learned from mentors?
Yeah, I've had a lot of mentors in life, and the one who I talk about most is my mentor, Melody Miller. She was the family spokesperson for the Kennedy family, longtime aide to Senator Ted Kennedy. And right before I came to the University of Arizona, I interned for her. And Melody is a Renaissance woman in every aspect. I mean, we sat down every Friday and we talked about politics, and we talked about movies, and we talked about sports. She's a big Penn State fan. I'm a big U of A fan. And so we talked about sports and movies, and the range of our conversations was so diverse. And one day she said, Skyler, I want to tell you about the Peace Corps. And I think this is something that you would really enjoy and be good at. And that suggestion and her confidence in me that I would be, up to something like that changed the trajectory of my life. She became, when I moved back to DC, she became my DC mother and somebody who I value as a friend and a mentor. And she's just had an incredible impact on my career. And, she's so supportive and somebody who, she's unbelievable.
Well, I have somebody else that would like to brag about you as well.
Oh boy.
We just got an email from Joe Panther.
Oh, great.
Who says, I have more of a comment about Skyler than a question. I've been a very close, longtime friend and would just like to glow about him. The work he has done and continues to do has incredibly inspired me over the years and has propelled me to work with him on a handful of projects. These experiences have completely opened my eyes to the joy of philanthropic giving and stepping outside of your comfort zone. Skyler is a phenomenal leader and human being. If there are any fellow Wildcats out there looking to give back and enrich their lives, they should absolutely get in touch with him and his organization. That's very touching.
I'm touched.
That's very
I'm touched.
nice. Thank you, Joe. Well, I guess that does bring up the question about internships. Do you take students on or young alums on as interns?
We definitely do. And to Joe's point, when I first started talking to Joe's also a fraternity brother, former roommate.
Also
really
a Wildcat?
Also a Wildcat, absolutely.
All right, Joe.
I know, absolutely. All right, Joe. Joe is actually just down in Haiti with Build On. And I had gotten him involved in that. I think that's what he's referring to. But, one of the things that I love doing in my job is working with people like Joe, who are looking for a way to give back and make a difference, but don't quite know how to do it yet. And in 15 years of this work, sometimes people say, do you become desensitized from what you're doing, or does poverty mean less to you? And I'd say not for a second, because I get to, when I work with people like Joe and with young people who come down to Haiti and support our work, is I get to see it through their eyes for the first time again, and it ignites me and inspires me. And so there's always an opportunity for us as Hope for Haiti to include people in our mission, whether it's internships or whether it's doing research for us, or go down to Haiti, and work with us. And we would totally be open for that. And we do that already.
So tell me about that. How do you do that already?
Well, we have a number of different groups that go down to Haiti to support our mission. They either fundraise for the organization and then go down to see the work and see how their investment is made. We do have internship opportunities, mostly in the South, in Naples and up in Stamford, Connecticut, but potentially in Scottsdale, where I'm at. I could definitely, I'd be open for that. You could send me your resume for sure. I'd take a look at it. So, yeah, those opportunities are definitely available, and we're always looking for people who want to improve their skill set from an international development standpoint, who are passionate about the work, and who are fun to work with.
And they would get information just through your website?
Sure. They can go right to hopeforhaiti.com and check out our website, see what openings we have, and then also, I'm definitely available to field any kind of inquiries about getting involved.
That's great. So I have another question. This comes from Jim. He's a 1968 graduate. Fundraising is an issue for us as a volunteer board that runs a high school in Ethiopia. We are trying to raise an annual budget and want to establish a large endowment. Do you have recommendations for sustainable fundraising and financial administration? That's a good one.
It is a good one. Well, those are two things, right? So the financial administration piece is really important because donor resources are so incredibly valuable. The first thing you want to do is make sure that if somebody donates or invests in your work, that you are maximizing the impact with their very generous donation. And so as an organization, Hope for Haiti is very, very focused on fiscal stewardship of all of our resources. We get audited by an auditing firm, both in Haiti and in Naples. And then we have a finance director, and then we also have a financial consultant who is really helping us think about the big picture ways we can improve financially. If you look, I mean, Hope for Haiti is a 4-star, has been rated with 4 stars on Charity Navigator. And what that really signifies is that Charity Navigator has gone in, kicked the tires of how we've set up our systems of controls, how we manage our resources, and they've given us the highest rating that there is. That is such an important piece of the work. So I would say, you know, they almost happen simultaneously. Now, if you're a smaller organization, you might want to do something like what we did, where we had key financial staff on our team, but we wanted to supplement that. So we ended up working with a financial consultant who really helps us think through those bigger picture finance questions and issues. So that's the finance piece. It's really important that you're stewarding money, that you have systems of control, that if you're sending money to Ethiopia, that you have people on the ground who you trust, and a system for using that money to maximize benefit. As far as development and raising the resources, I think there are a number of ways to go about it, but I tend to fall into a couple of different. I tend to favor a couple different ways. First, I think you want to diversify. Individuals, foundations, corporations, and government support, if you're a nonprofit organization, are your 4 major buckets. And so the way that we try to fundraise at Hope for Haiti is really have the majority of our support come from individuals. Of course, we've been blessed to have great foundation support. Even right here in Arizona, the Bob and Renee Parsons Foundation is a big supporter of our work. GoDaddy's a big supporter of our work. But really to find those foundations, corporations, or individuals that are aligned with your mission, and then diversify. Because what you don't want to do is be so dependent on one donor that if some reason something happens with that donor, they goes away, then your organization's really going to be in a tight spot. And so that's just the diversification piece. The other piece of that is how do you go about it? How do you go about engaging corporations or finding the right foundation or inspiring individuals to give back to you? And I tend to like to really make sure that our fundraise is authentic, and that we're inspiring people and talking about the work that we do isn't just a number. It isn't that we have supported at Hope for Haiti. We've supported 7,000 children in their education. I like to make sure that we have names to those kids and stories about them, and that to me is a really important aspect of fundraising, to provide a more personalized approach. And then lastly, I would say get people involved. We heard from Joe earlier. Joe, I think, is even more passionate about giving back because he just went to Haiti. He just went to Haiti and experienced it. And he got to know the names of the people. He stayed with the family. He really learned about the nuances of poverty, and doesn't know it just superficially now. He knows it in depth. And so I would say help people find a way to your impact area and connect in that way, and you'll have lifelong supporters. And that's what we've done at Hope for Haiti, and it's worked.
Great. Good answer. All right, we have another question about your headquarters being in Florida, but you're based in Scottsdale, and you've also got another office in Connecticut.
Yeah.
So how do you effectively manage and lead a team when it sounds like you're not around very much of the time?
Well, I think that at least for the first 6 months, I had to be really intentional about traveling and being in front of our team and being with our team, having meals with our team, planning with our team. And so I have been around and just made 4 trips to Haiti over the last 4 months, been down to Connecticut, been up to Connecticut a few times, and have made it to Florida, I think maybe 4 times as well since I've joined. That's really important to have that face time. But when I'm in Arizona and I don't, technology is key, and I use everything. I use text, WhatsApp. I could jump on my phone right now and call our country director in Haiti and have him on the phone in a minute. And that has really made this job possible. We do video chats so that we even reduce that barrier of not seeing each other. And that's been really helpful. I've been working, I laughed at the name of the interview because it's Cats in the Corner Office, and I've never been in office.
You don't have
I've
a
never been
corner
in
office.
My office is anywhere. I mean, as long as I have my laptop and my phone, I'm good to go.
So, it sounds. Do you have a particular app that's just critical to you doing your business?
Well, WhatsApp for sure.
WhatsApp.
It has really changed the game.
Yeah.
It allows me to speak with anybody. You can create group chats, and then text. I text a lot with our team. Video chat, so Skype or just doing a Google Hangout or FaceTime.
Okay.
Anything and everything that works, really.
Okay.
Sometimes I just like to mix it up because I just don't think you can sit on email and email people back and forth. I think at the end of that's too much of a grind. I think we have to become a little bit more personal, especially when we're so far apart.
That's great. That's great. So here's a question from a 2014 grad, Nathan. How do you motivate your team to deliver the best service to impact to your stakeholders in your everyday operations?
Yeah. Well, I think a few ways. In terms of motivation, I feel lucky because our team, when I joined our team, they already had it. They were already very passionate about the work. They'd gone through this whole experience with Hurricane Matthew. I think that their commitment had been galvanized over the last year, 2 years, or however long they'd been with the organization. So I think it's really a matter of keeping up that motivation. And I think, number one, I will always, no matter if there's an opportunity to praise somebody or recognize somebody for their contribution, I'll do it. I'll take it. Because I think, and I've been in the same situation before, so I know what it feels like when somebody says, hey, you did a good job on that. And so when I can authentically do that, that's really important. The second piece is giving people the autonomy to do their job and do it well. And the one way that I do that every week, and we do this consistently within the organization, is we set goals. We set goals and we hold ourselves accountable every single week. We set weekly goals, we set quarterly goals, and we set yearly goals. And we don't just set those goals to set them, we set them so that we can check back in and see if we've been able to do them. And we don't just set professional goals too. We make it a little fun, so we set personal goals. And those personal goals would be, I'm going to work out 5 times a week, or I'm going to go read this book, or I don't know, somebody said that somebody's going to get more into baking. And that idea is that we're creating a community of team members and not just employees. That's really important to know that we know each other on a different level.
So do you have metrics or measurements that you use to evaluate what you're doing in Haiti?
We have to.
Yeah.
We have to. So we do,
What are some of those?
Yeah, so some of the metrics. So we have the 5 key programmatic areas, and some of the metrics really that we're looking at are what are our key outputs. So we run an infirmary in the southern part of Haiti, and it treats about 80 to 100 patients per day. And so we really want to look at we look at those metrics. Those are just key performance indicators. Are we doing things at the level that we think we can? And that really helps us monitor. But then we go much deeper, and we use something called the Pathways Out of Poverty survey, where we survey community members in the rural communities every single year, and we assess we assess using a system of questions every single year what the level of poverty is in that community, and then we were able to use the baseline survey of our first assessment to track how we've done each year. And so it's really important that we do that so that we're able to say, okay, the work that we're doing in integrating education and healthcare and water and infrastructure and economic development is able to help people lift themselves out of poverty. And so we use that PPI survey to do that. And we use this really great software called TerraWorks that again, technology is a game changer, but allows our team to go out in the field with tablets and really enter in the data, and then once that tablet gets access to internet, it goes on the cloud. And so that system of collecting data by hand or with a paper and a pencil is removed totally, and it goes right to the cloud, and we're able to access it, and we're able to evaluate the data and really see whether or not we're making a difference from year to year.
Okay. Now we have a question from Anthony, and I think we're getting down to the last couple of minutes, so this is actually a good one to have at the end. Anthony asks, he's a 2013 graduate of the U of A, what are your thoughts on graduate school for someone already working in international development who wants to push their career forward or transition into humanitarian work? Would you recommend an MA versus MPA versus MPP? And our viewers may not all know the difference.
Yeah, so I'll just address the graduate school because I don't really have a strong opinion on what what type of degree to pursue, but certainly if you found your passion and you feel like graduate school can have a tremendous benefit to your career path. I know for a fact that one of the reasons that I was hired at Build On was because I just finished my graduate degree. And the most beautiful thing that happened to me was that I got to use day one in my first year so much of what I learned in graduate school in terms of logical frameworks and the technical skills that I learned in graduate school. I used those day one and throughout my career, even today. And so I highly recommend a postgraduate degree. But the big question is you want to make sure that it's the right fit, that you think through whether you want to work at the same time and go to grad school, or you just want to focus on your grad school. But those technical skills you can learn and academic skills that you really hone in grad school are very important. And the last thing about grad school is your cohort. I went to the George Washington University and studied international development studies. I'd probably say of a class of 20, I still keep in contact with about 15 of my cohort. Really good friends, and people who support each other throughout their career and we cheer each other on, and we know each other's families now, and it's a really great aspect of being part of another community. So I highly recommend it.
That's great. That's great advice. We're down to about 3 minutes, I believe. So I just have to ask very quickly. You're so busy. You travel so much. Is work-life balance a challenge for you?
My wife is watching today, so she would say yes. But she has been incredibly inspiring, and she's the rock of our community, of our family. And we have a small child. We have a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old, and so work-life balance is hard. And I think when my wife and I sit down and talk about it, we know that there's an end game, and that is that we're advancing our careers so that we can help advance our family and our kids, and so we try for it, but it's difficult. My wife's Sahara, she works too, and so we're doing a lot of juggling and with childcare and with our careers, and both of our jobs have East Coast time starts, so we're up early in the morning, right? So a 9 o'clock call is 6 a.m. for us, and if you do an 8 o'clock call, well, it gets pretty early. So juggling work-life balance is easy and is hard, but we're getting better at it. Yeah.
Well, and the work is rewarding.
So very rewarding.
I feel very good about what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think, are we about out of time? I'm going to ask for one more bit of advice
Absolutely.
from you. Students who are graduating today,
Yeah.
what's their bit of advice in 30 seconds? What would you say to them?
Go for experience. Go after those experiences, because that's what's going to get you into careers that you're passionate about. I meet so many people who ask me different variations of this question, which is, I'm not passionate about what I'm doing. What should I do? And my answer is, go have experience. Go and intern. Go and volunteer. Go and travel. And that experience will most likely drive your passion and may lead you into a career that you absolutely love.
Great advice. Well, Skyler, thank you so much. It's been just a delight hearing what you're doing and the difference you're making in our world. And what a great example of a wildcat. So thank you so much. And thank you to everyone that's joined us today. We'll be back in the fall with more Cat in the Corner Office. But for today, we say thank you again and bear down.
Bear down.